Welcome back for another video. For the past 2 months, I've been working at a fish hatchery in Alaska in the Prince William Sound area, specifically at the Main Bay Hatchery. So in this video, I'm just going to show you the location that I've been working at for the past few months. I'm pretty sure this is the lake where all the water comes to power the facility, plus for all the water for the fish. It's just this is where the path ends that they made for us, and the snow is getting slushy now, so I've been following the whole way up here. But it's all, it's all frozen over. The snow's on top, so I can't really show you it. But from this lake, the water comes down all the way along this path and some piping, and then that goes into the facility to power it. Here's some of the piping that's uncovered. You can see it's pretty big, and that goes all along down to the bottom. Here's some more piping, and this goes all along down here and then into that building right over there. So along here and then straight into there, and that's where the turbine is. So here, pretty much in this area, is where I've been staying for the past 2 months. Here is the bunkhouse, this is where we sleep and eat, and then down over here is where I work. So as I mentioned earlier, this is the building where I'm working the whole time. It's where all the fish are in, where you start the fish and then you move them out later on. So over here on the left is where the water enters into the facility to power a turbine, which basically runs the electricity for everything. It's also the water that runs into the hatchery for the fish itself. So it goes through this piping over here and then into this room over here. This is the first entrance into the facility. So because of the diseases and we don't want to spread them to the fish, we have to dip our feet in this chemical mix called Virex to basically kill all the bacteria and parasites so we don't transfer anything into the system. So over here is where the turbine, which is what powers everything. So the water enters through over here, and then some of it goes off, which goes back down to the fish system for the fish and everything. And then this is the turbine, which is quite a unit. The water comes in here, spins everything. That's just powering all the electricity. That's a heck of a unit. There's just a ton of water just running through, just powering this thing constantly. Goes down out through here, and then the rest of the water goes through here and up through here. So that turbine over there powers the entire system, all the lights, everything for the fish, the pumps and everything. And then you got these backups just in case that fail. They're backup generators, which will run the system in case something happens to that turbine. This is what they actually used before, and then that turbine was put in place, and that pretty much runs everything. The lights are on all the time. You can take as much or as long showers as you want and so forth. And then down this way goes to where the fish are. Over here are some filters and stuff for the water. So this filters the water for us, goes through all this. The water also comes through here for the fish and all that. There's two parts, there's fish underneath and there's fish up over here. And then over here is a degasser. So here's the rest of the water that heads down to the bottom. And this is just a degassing system. See, that's pretty crazy. Again, always stepping in this to prevent disease spread. So this is where all the smaller fish are. That's where I'm working. So we go through this room. Again, you step in the chemicals. The fish we're raising here are sockeye salmon, and they're pretty susceptible to what's called IHN. So you got to be super careful with that. So when we come in rooms, we step in there, and when we clean the tanks, we're also dipping our hands in betadine and stuff like that. But these are the tanks I'm working on. There's 35 of them, all filled with salmon or the fry. And pretty much all day what we're doing is moving the fish waste across the bottom, scooping out the dead ones so they don't cause extra diseases, and then feeding them. Right now it's like 4 times a day. At the beginning we were feeding them like every half an hour, but then you feed them more amounts of times. You can see this is the entire system up here. Basically each of us have different tanks, and then we do those throughout the day. All these tanks, the water goes into here, which then goes out to the ocean. Got the water coming in here. There's another degasser for these systems over here. Degas is up there. And then before they're actually in these tanks, they're in what we call incubators, or you put the eggs in the incubators to, you know, hatch them. So they're in these tanks before they're put into these. The eggs come in here, and then once they're big enough, I think it's like 3 months, then you put them into this system and feed them, raise them, get them feed trained and everything, and then stick them out here. And after this, they'll go down into the systems down below, which I'll show in a sec. You can see all the different tanks. So this is the system. This is pretty much where I've been working the whole time, where I've been working the whole time. So when we clean the tanks, we got to put on these bibs and the gloves, and then before we work on the fish tanks, we dip our hands in a chemical solution made out of betadine, and this is just to kill any stuff so we don't transfer from system to system. Same with these plastics, so that water doesn't splash to the next one. So after in here, the fish go down into another area. So this we call the incubation room or startup. And then down below here is where there's bigger tanks. We call them raceways. Here we change our boots. So again, it's to prevent the spread of disease. Other salmon are a little easier since you don't have to do all this, but with the sockeyes you got to be extra careful. Again, dipping our feet in there. And then here are where the bigger ones are. Got these tanks over here. All along. And same thing, they'll put on their gear, the bibs, and then they'll dip their feet and stuff in the mix when they walk down and feed them. Dip their hands in the betadine. So these are all the fish. They are stacked. Can't really make it out on the camera. But then same thing down here, they feed them and they clean the tanks and get all the dead ones out. And then the water goes down here and out to the ocean. bunch of fish feed, and then you got the water entering from the river over here, which just runs through all these tanks. And then after here, they're brought out to net pens in the ocean. So after the fish are big enough, we take them out of this building and they go into net pens out in the ocean, which is all the way down this way. There used to be snow everywhere. The ground was covered, but it's getting warmer. Snow's melting. Nature's coming alive. This is the building. Down here is the bigger ones, and then up at the top is where I'm working. Over here in this small spot is where the fish are going to be kept when they come up, when it's ready for breeding. Get the right amount in here, release from in here, and then sort them out. So here's the bay, and after those fish get big enough, they're moved into the net pens over there, which is then brought out farther along over there. This is just over here for transferring. And this is the dock system with a skip and everything. Here's how some of the net pens look. It's basically a platform. The nets are underneath. The ones out over there, which I'll show you now, are bigger. These ones are just smaller, and they're made out of floating pipes and everything. And then they have a screen over them to protect them from the birds and stuff from taking all the fish, because it's pretty much a jackpot for any animal that wants a simple, quick meal. The entire hatchery facility is pretty much located right in this ravine over here, in between all these mountains. Everywhere's mountains around. It's quite beautiful. Got a seal right there coming up. Got otters everywhere. After work, pretty much come in here. Just go to the gym all the time. It's not bad. Got a decent selection, and then got the sauna over here. This is pretty nice. Go in here every time after working out. Nice and warm. Got a pool table, foosball, air hockey, ping pong. I was planning to stay here a little longer for about 4 months, but due to the repetitive work of constantly moving the fish waste and feeding the fish, my shoulders started to become messed up, and I don't want things to get worse, so I decided to cut it earlier and move on to other things. If you did like this video, remember to check out this other one up here, and I'll see you in the next one.